But the right-wing conspiracy theories are absolutely disgusting, and it is pathetic. And we are going to go over those right-wing conspiracy theories. So Laura Loomer, who, as you know, is a prominent far-right personality, she has spread 9/11 conspiracy theories. She is a known, self-admitted Islamophobe. She made the case that these were Waltz's goons that are assassinating lawmakers. She called the Democrat Party a terrorist organization. Well, there's one problem there. This guy wasn't even a Democrat. This guy was a staunch Donald Trump supporter. We know that from his roommate and his voting record. The guy voted for Donald Trump. He was a registered Republican. Right-wing commentator Nick Sortor, who is a known racist bigot who makes money on social media, like so many other people on the far right, spreading conspiracy theories and lies about the left, said Hortman sounded absolutely terrified speaking to the media after voting to end the health coverage for undocumented adults. We know that these violent acts that took place had nothing to do with that, and Sorto is an idiot, as is Elon Musk, who posted on his social media platform, who has arguably the biggest platform in the world, with the most viewers in the world, who said, quote, "The far left is murderously violent." But what the imbecile decided not to do was to explain to the American people and to the world that this was not a leftist. This had nothing to do with the left. It had everything to do with somebody on the right, a Donald Trump supporter, a Republican who decided to carry out these heinous acts. Had nothing to do with the left promoting violence or doing anything like that. But I guarantee you Elon Musk will not retract, just like the MAGA right. He will not apologize. These are all lies. These are all jokes. And there are people on the far right that are saying that the suspect had close ties to Governor Tim Walz. That's a lie. That's not true. Now, the governor did reappoint this guy Bolter to an advisory board back in 2019, but not one member has said that he knew this man personally. Not one, even Republicans who work with Tim Walz. In fact, as I mentioned before, a friend of Bolter called him a strong supporter of President Donald Trump. He voted for Donald Trump. Tim Walz didn't even know who the hell this guy is. But yet the far right want to make you believe that Tim Walz is just as close to this guy as maybe Donald Trump was to Jeffrey Epstein. This guy was not close to Walz at all. And his roommate, David Carlson, reiterated to reporters over the weekend that this guy not only voted for Donald Trump, but was a staunch Donald Trump supporter. Data released by the Minnesota DFL party on Sunday showed Bolter voted in last year's presidential primary election, but not as a Democrat. And I find it very interesting that the Republican Party of Minnesota is declining to share its presidential primary election voter data on Bolter, with a spokesman saying the party considers the data to be very private. Yeah, I'll tell you why. Because he voted for Donald Trump. That's why. Take that to the bank. And then there are right-wing conspiracy theorists that are saying that somehow Bolter's wife interned for Walz. All this speculation. The Walz intern is a different person who appears to be married to someone else. Not this guy Bolter who committed these heinous crimes. Another lie by the far right. And there are people on the right that are saying that this attack happened over a vote to strip health care from undocumented adults. There is absolutely no evidence, none, to say that that's why he carried out these acts. This man had a hit list of Democrats. He did not have a hit list of MAGA Republicans. This was a hit list of Democrats. So take that for what you will. And these people on the right that are making these unsubstantiated claims are despicable people, including Mike Lee. Yes, it was grotesque what Mike Lee did over the weekend. When people lose their lives, it is absolutely and positively disgusting to mock their deaths. And you want to talk to me about your values, Mike Lee? That's what you want to do? You want to talk to me about your values? And he makes a joke on social media about these heinous crimes that were committed. Make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Lee is a despicable human being. He should be outed from office. But these are the MAGA Republicans. And I've said this time and time before, and I'm going to say it again. One of the biggest fundamental differences between Republicans and Democrats today. Do you guys remember when the useless turtle, Mitch McConnell, was freezing up? Do you remember? We're all not doctors here, but I think we all could agree there was some sort of medical episode that the man was having, right? Who was the first person to pick up the phone and to call Mitch McConnell? It was Joe Biden. Say what you want about Joe Biden, but the man has empathy. He called Mitch McConnell to see how he was doing. How do we know this? Because Mitch McConnell told us about it. There were Democrats all over the country. They weren't making it political. They wished him well. They wanted him to make a full recovery, whatever medical issues he was having. The right, what did they do after that heinous hammer attack on Paul Pelosi? People like Ted Cruz and Matt Gaetz were making jokes about it, saying that it was some sort of gay relationship and he let him in. They weren't giving thoughts and prayers to the family. What did all these people do when Joe Biden's family announced that he had cancer, a very serious form of cancer? Maybe 3 or 4 words wishing him well, and then they turned it into politics. Oh, this was a cover-up. And his wife knew about this, and the Democrats knew about it. George Soros, the deep state, they made it into a conspiracy theory, into instead just making the statement of, we wish his family well, we hope he makes a full recovery. They did it in the attacks in New Orleans. When we had an attack in New Orleans where so many innocent people lost their lives, they turned it into Joe Biden immigration, when it turned out the guy who did it was a guy who was born in Texas, a U.S. citizen. Did they retract what they said? No, absolutely not. And they're doing it again over the weekend. You have some innocent people who happen to be Democrats, some elected officials, their lives taken from them way too soon because of a deranged lunatic. And I wouldn't be talking about his political affiliation if not for the far right spreading conspiracy theories and lies, saying this guy was a Democrat who was very close to Tim Walz. That couldn't be further from the truth. Not only did Tim Walz never even meet him, not only did Tim Walz not even know who he is, but the bottom line here, ladies and gentlemen, is that this guy's a Republican, a registered Republican, who voted for Donald Trump, a staunch Donald Trump supporter. So all you people out there on the far right that are spreading conspiracy theories about this guy who committed these heinous crimes, you could go fly a kite. You're liars, you're despicable, and elected officials and people like Mike Lee making jokes about this. When the families are grieving after losing their loved ones, what does that make you? It makes you a despicable human being. And it's a defining difference between Republicans and Democrats today. You guys are despicable. You think this is funny? Donald Trump put out one statement, and then the next day he was celebrating his birthday on taxpayer dollars, $40 million. Nobody showed up. The No Kings rallies across the country were extremely successful. Boatloads of people, millions all over the country, who are upset, who are angry. I'm one of them. I was in San Diego. I was one of them. We're upset at what's going on in this administration. We're upset that Donald Trump is not giving people the right to due process. We're upset that Donald Trump once again is embarrassing himself in front of Mike Carney, and we'll be speaking about that in a few minutes. We're upset at the fact that he has no plan for the future of this economy. None, zero, accepting $400 million gifts from Qatar. If it happens under your watch, it's your fault. And Donald Trump will continue to blame Joe Biden for what is going on in Israel and Iran right now as they are trading bombs. I thought that Donald Trump was going to be the peacemaker, not the warmonger. What is going on in Ukraine right now when he said the war was going to be over in 24 hours? How's that working out? There is chaos all over the world. There is chaos in this country, and Donald Trump bears the brunt of responsibility for what is going on. He made promises to the American people, and sadly, 49% of those people who voted believed him. And they're imbeciles, and they are proven to be imbeciles, gullible at a minimum. The world is on fire right now, and Donald Trump is partially to blame for that. He did not lower the price of gas. He did not lower inflation. He did not do the things that he said he was going to do, just like back in 2016 when he said he was going to hire a special prosecutor to go after Hillary Clinton. Never did that. He said he was going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. Never did that. The same time around, he said he was going to end the war in 24 hours, that all he had to do was pick up the phone. You think Vladimir Putin listened to him? I think not. And then he blamed Zelensky. what is going on in Iran and Israel right now is horrible. But you don't hear Joe Biden saying, oh, this wouldn't have happened under my watch. Everything and anything that happened under Joe Biden, that's what Donald Trump said. Well, what's Donald Trump's excuse now? He wants to call and blame Joe Biden for every single one of his problems. He wants to blame Democrats for. It's his fault because he had no plan and he's an imbecile. And Vladimir Putin is playing him. And yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't think we should be funding this war either in Israel. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I don't think we should be funding it either. And this comes from somebody who is pro-Israel. I've had it. This is their war and not ours. Donald Trump, the warmonger. And Mike Lee should be impeached. It's despicable and it's disgusting. And just an FYI to all you MAGA morons out there, this guy who committed these heinous crimes in Minnesota, he's not an immigrant. He's not a Democrat. He also happens to not be a transgender person, because I know a lot of people on the far right want to blame transgenders and immigrants for all their problems. He is a white male, full-blown Donald Trump supporter and voter. Now, does that mean that this guy should be sent to an El Salvador prison? I don't know. Maybe he should. But no, the people that Donald Trump is sending to El Salvador prisons are people that are nonviolent criminals who have never been convicted of a crime in their life, who have tattoos.